Ever tried? Ever failed? Good, because that means you had the courage to step into the arena of life. No matter how many times you fall, each failure is proof that you are still in the fight. The world doesn't remember those who never tried. It remembers those who rose after every fall. So today, I'm here to tell you why failure is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. A failure is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation of it. When you think about the greatest achievements in history, when you look at the lives of those who rose to extraordinary heights, you will find a trail of mistakes, setbacks, and broken attempts behind them. Every mountain that was ever climbed, every dream that was ever turned into reality, stood on the base of failures that came first. We are often taught to run from failure, to see it as the end, to see it as proof that we are not good enough. But the truth is the exact opposite. Failure is not a wall meant to stop you. It is a door that leads you closer to who you are meant to become. Think about the child who is learning to walk. They fall, stumble, cry, and get back up again. We never call that child a failure. We never say they will never walk. We understand that every fall is part of the process. Yet, as adults, when we stumble in life, when we fall down in business, in relationships, in dreams, we label ourselves as failures. But just like that child, those stumbles are the very steps that strengthen your legs for the journey ahead. Without those falls, you would never learn balance, resilience, or persistence. Failure builds the muscles success requires. It teaches lessons that comfort never will. It shows you where your weaknesses are so that you can grow stronger. It humbles you so that arrogance does not destroy you when you finally rise. It shapes your character so that when success does come, you are not just someone who achieved a goal, but someone who became the kind of person worthy of it. If success is the house, failure is the foundation holding it up. Without it, everything collapses. Many people believe that success comes to those who are lucky or talented. But talent without failure leads to fragility. Luck without failure builds no roots. Only the one who has failed countless times develops the kind of strength, patience, and vision that lasts. The artist whose paintings are rejected again and again learns to refine their craft. The athlete who loses learns where their discipline is lacking. The dreamer who falls short learns which direction is truly meant for them. Every setback is information, and every disappointment is training. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is how we see it. Most people treat failure as a final judgment, as a period at the end of a sentence. But failure is not a period, it is a comma. It simply means pause, reflect, learn, and continue. Those who succeed at the highest level are not those who never fail. They are those who refuse to let failure define them. They see it as part of the process, not the end of it. They take the broken pieces of yesterday and build a stronger foundation for tomorrow. Ask yourself, where would you be if you weren't afraid to fail? How far would you have gone if every time you stumbled you didn't stop, but you stood back up with even more determination? The truth is, fear of failure has held back more dreams than failure itself ever has. Failure only hurts when you stop at it, when you treat it as final. But when you see it as the groundwork of greatness, it becomes your ally, not your enemy. So the next time you fall short, remember this: failure is not proof of your weakness. It is proof of your effort. It is the evidence that you are still in the fight, that you are daring to live, to try, to reach. And every failure carries with it the seed of future success. The only real failure is quitting. As long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep trying, you are not losing. You are building. You are laying down brick by brick the foundation of a success story that one day will inspire the world. Each attempt, even when it ends in defeat, brings hidden lessons that refine your path. Every time you try, even if you fall short, you gain knowledge you didn't have before. You see things more clearly. You understand the obstacles better, and you learn more about yourself in the process. Defeat is not a sign that you are unworthy. It is proof that you are still moving, still searching, still carving your way toward the vision in your heart. The lessons are often invisible at first, but over time you realize that what seemed like failure was actually guidance, pushing you in the right direction. Think of life as a sculptor shaping stone. Each strike of the hammer chips away pieces that don't belong, slowly revealing the figure hidden within. In the same way, every failed attempt chips away at the illusions, the doubts, and the unnecessary distractions in your life. With each try, the real you, sharper, stronger, more focused, begins to emerge. You may not notice it at the time, but every defeat is carving you into the person you need to be to carry the weight of success. Consider the entrepreneur who launches an idea that doesn't work. To outsiders, it looks like a waste of time. But that failed attempt teaches them about the market, about people, about strategy. When they try again, they bring those lessons with them, and their chances of success rise. The athlete who misses the shot studies their form, adjusts, and returns sharper. The student who doesn't pass the exam realizes where they lacked focus and improves. These hidden lessons are not obvious in the moment because defeat blinds you with disappointment. But when the sting fades, the wisdom remains and it becomes part of your path forward. Defeat refines not just your skills but also your mindset. Every time you fall short, you are confronted with a choice: either you let it break you, or you let it build you. And in that choice lies your true power. If you see defeat as the end, it crushes your spirit. But if you see it as information, it strengthens you. It whispers to you, not this way. Adjust, adapt, and try again. This constant cycle of attempt, fail, and learn creates resilience, the very quality that champions are built from. The most dangerous lie society teaches is that failure disqualifies you. In reality, it qualifies you. It means you had the courage to try when others stood still. Each attempt separates you from those who never even stepped forward. Defeat becomes your mentor, showing you where your blind spots are and what needs to be sharpened. Success in its purest form is not about one perfect victory. It is about refining yourself through countless imperfect attempts until the breakthrough finally comes. Every setback carries a hidden seed of redirection. Sometimes what you thought was a failure is actually protection, steering you away from a path that wasn't meant for you. You may not see it immediately, but every defeat clears space for something greater. Many of the world's most successful people look back and realize that their so-called failures were necessary stepping stones. Without them, they would not have discovered the right path. Defeat doesn't close doors, it points you toward the ones you are truly meant to open. When you shift your perspective and stop fearing defeat, you unlock freedom. You no longer hesitate because you are no longer paralyzed by the thought of falling short. You know that even if you don't win this time, you'll gain something far more valuable: growth. And with growth, your path becomes sharper, more refined, more unstoppable. So the next time you try and it doesn't work out, don't bury yourself in shame. Look for the lesson. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? How will this refine my journey? Because the truth is, every attempt counts, even the ones that end in defeat. And when you gather all those lessons together, they become the map that leads you to success. The courage to try again is what separates dreamers from achievers. Everyone has dreams. Everyone has visions of a better life, a better future, or a greater version of themselves. But most people never see those dreams come to life, not because they lacked talent, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lacked the courage to rise after falling. It is easy to dream, but it is hard to try again after failure. That moment, the moment after you stumble, the moment after you feel broken, the moment when your doubts are the loudest, that is the true test. Dreamers stop there, but achievers rise. The first attempt is often filled with excitement and energy. It feels fresh, hopeful, unstoppable. But after the fall, when reality strikes, when doors close, when critics laugh, when the silence of failure settles in, that is when most people quit. They bury their dreams under fear and excuses. But achievers are different. They know that one attempt is not enough, that one failure does not define them. They summon the courage to try again. And that simple act, getting back up, is what changes everything. Trying again takes courage because it requires vulnerability. It means risking another fall, opening yourself to more rejection, and facing the possibility of pain once more. But this is exactly why it is so powerful. Each new attempt after failure proves that your spirit is stronger than your fear. Every time you rise again, you declare to the world and to yourself that your dream is worth the risk, that your vision is greater than your wounds. This resilience becomes the very force that pulls you toward achievement. History is filled with achievers who once walked through failure's fire. The difference was not that they never fell, but that they refused to stay down. They kept trying until life had no choice but to open the doors. Courage does not guarantee instant success, but it guarantees growth. With each new attempt, you are sharper, wiser, and more prepared than before. The dreamer remains stuck in imagination, while the achiever builds step by step, failure by failure, attempt by attempt. Courage is the bridge between dreaming and doing. It transforms I wish into I will. And every time you try again, that bridge gets stronger. You begin to trust yourself, you begin to trust the process, and you begin to see that failure was never the end. It was part of the preparation. Each attempt after defeat chisels away doubt and builds a new layer of strength. And when you keep stacking those attempts, you eventually create momentum so powerful that success becomes inevitable. Think about the times you almost quit. Think about the moments when everything inside you screamed to give up, yet something deep within whispered, try again. That whisper is the voice of greatness. That whisper is what separates the few who achieve from the many who give up. It takes courage to listen to it, to trust it, and to act on it. But when you do, you step into the rare group of people who refuse to let failure have the final word. Every achiever has scars. Every achiever has stories of trying, failing, and rising. Those scars are not signs of weakness, but of bravery. They show the world that you had the courage to keep going when others stopped. They remind you that you are stronger than you ever thought possible. Dreamers often wait for the perfect moment, but achievers create it through relentless courage. They don't wait for conditions to align. They try again until they force conditions to change. So the next time you face defeat, remember this: your courage to rise again is more important than the failure itself. The fall is temporary, but your decision to stand up is permanent. Every attempt brings you closer, and every new try is proof that you are not just a dreamer, you are an achiever in the making. Success will never belong to those who never fail. It belongs to those who refuse to let failure be the end. Courage is the price, and trying again is the payment. Pay it and watch your dreams turn into reality. Greatness is not measured by avoiding failure, but by how many times you rise after it. Too often, people confuse greatness with perfection. They imagine that those who achieve incredible things have walked a flawless path, untouched by mistakes or setbacks. But the truth is the complete opposite. Greatness has never been about living without failure. It has always been about rising after failure. The true giants of history were not those who never stumbled, but those who refused to stay down when they did. What defines a person is not the fall itself, but the strength and courage with which they rise again. When life knocks you down, the easiest choice is to stay there. Failure hurts. It crushes your spirit, wounds your pride, and makes you question your worth. The world may laugh, critics may mock, and even your own inner voice may whisper that you are done. But the moment you stand back up despite all of that, you reclaim your power. That act alone is greatness. It shows that your heart is stronger than your wounds, that your vision is greater than your pain, and that no setback is powerful enough to break you permanently. Every rise after a fall adds another layer of strength to your character. You become wiser because you carry the lessons of the fall. You become tougher because you have faced the sting of defeat and survived it. You become more determined because you know that standing up once means you can stand up again. With each comeback, you are building the unshakable foundation that greatness stands on. Success achieved without struggle is fragile, but success built after countless rises becomes unbreakable. Greatness is measured by resilience, and resilience is only born in the furnace of failure. You cannot build resilience without struggle, and you cannot rise without first falling. Every great leader, every champion, every innovator has walked through the valley of failure before standing on the mountain of victory. They did not count their failures, they counted their comebacks. They understood that greatness is not found in the avoidance of storms, but in the ability to sail through them and emerge stronger on the other side. Imagine a fighter in the ring. The crowd does not cheer because he never gets hit. They cheer because after every blow, after every knockdown, he gets back on his feet and keeps fighting. That spirit, that refusal to surrender, is what makes him great. Life works the same way. You will get knocked down, sometimes harder than you thought you could endure. But when you rise, even when your body is tired and your heart is heavy, you prove to yourself and to the world that you are not defeated. That rise is the very definition of greatness. People often think failure disqualifies them from greatness, but the opposite is true. Failure is the very qualification. Every fall is an invitation to rise stronger, and every rise is a declaration that you are not finished yet. The number of times you fall will never define you. What defines you is the number of times you choose to rise. Some of the greatest victories in history were born from the darkest defeats. The road to greatness was not paved with smooth stones, but with jagged edges that tested the will of those who dared to walk it. So when you fall, and you will, don't waste time asking, why me? Instead ask, what now? The answer to that question will shape your future. If you choose to rise, you become unstoppable. If you choose to stay down, you bury your potential with your failure. Greatness belongs to those who rise so many times that the world can no longer keep count. They are remembered not because they were flawless, but because they were relentless. Greatness is not about perfection. It is not about winning every battle or never making mistakes. Greatness is about endurance. It is about standing tall when everything around you tries to push you down. It is about rising again and again until your rise becomes your legacy. The world does not admire those who never fall. It admires those who rise no matter how many times they are struck down. And that is why your greatness is not ahead of you somewhere in the distance. It is in every single rise you choose to make today. Fail better means transforming every setback into a sharper weapon for your comeback. Failure in its rawest form can feel like a crushing blow. It knocks the wind out of you, leaves you doubting yourself, and tempts you to abandon your journey. But hidden within every fall is an opportunity. The chance to turn the pain into power, the loss into leverage, the defeat into discipline. To fail better does not mean you avoid mistakes. It means you use those mistakes as tools, as lessons, as the very sharpening stones that make you stronger for the next round. Every setback carries with it information. It shows you where you were unprepared, where you lacked focus, or where you misjudged the situation. Most people let that realization break them, but the wise transform it into strategy. To fail better is to study your falls, to analyze your defeats, and to gather wisdom from them so that when you return sharper, smarter, and stronger. Each failure becomes a weapon in your arsenal, preparing you for the battle still ahead. Think of a sword in the hands of a warrior. That sword does not come sharp from the beginning. It is forged in fire, beaten into shape, and sharpened over and over again. Failure is the fire, failure is the hammer, failure is the whetstone that grinds away your rough edges until you are prepared for victory. Each time you fail better, you are not repeating the same mistakes, you are elevating yourself, rising with more clarity and resilience than before. The difference between those who quit and those who ultimately win is how they respond to failure. Quitting means you accept defeat as permanent. Failing better means you see defeat as training. It means you choose to see every closed door as redirection, every setback as guidance, and every mistake as feedback. With this mindset, failure stops being your enemy and becomes your coach. And a comeback built on those lessons is far more powerful than a first attempt ever could be. Some of the greatest innovations, the greatest achievements, and the greatest victories in history came from people who failed better. They did not strike gold on their first try. They endured rejection, loss, and humiliation, but each time they came back, they were sharper. They refined their ideas, improved their methods, and strengthened their resolve. Their failures were not wasted, they were invested. Every stumble added to the foundation of their eventual success. Failing better requires humility. It demands that you admit your mistakes, face your weaknesses, and be willing to learn from them. Pride tells you to hide your failures, but growth tells you to study them. The comeback only becomes possible when you face the truth of why you fell and commit to rising differently. This humility does not weaken you, it makes you dangerous. It arms you with wisdom that no amount of smooth sailing could ever provide. Your setbacks are not punishments, they are preparation. They are shaping you into someone capable of handling the weight of success. Too many people want the victory without the process, but the process is what makes the victory meaningful. When you fail better, you are not just chasing success. You are becoming the kind of person who deserves it, who can hold it, who can use it for something greater than yourself. So when you stumble, don't just rise and repeat the same steps. Rise with intention. Rise with the lessons burned into your spirit. Rise with sharper focus, deeper resilience, and greater determination. Each comeback must be fueled by the wisdom of the last setback. That is how you fail better. Remember, the goal is not to never fail. The goal is to fail so effectively that each fall becomes a stepping stone, each wound becomes a scar of strength, and each defeat becomes the weapon that equips you for victory. Failures may slow you down, but failing better ensures they will never stop you. And when your comeback arrives, it will be unstoppable, because it will be built on the sharpened edge of every failure you turned into power. The only real failure is the decision to quit. Everything else is progress. We live in a world where people label every setback, every mistake, every wrong turn as failure. But in reality, none of those things can stop you as long as you continue. A missed shot, a rejected idea, a broken attempt, these are not failures. They are lessons, adjustments, and parts of the journey. The moment you decide to quit, to stop trying altogether, that is the only time you truly fail. Until then, every single step, no matter how imperfect, is movement forward. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Every slip, every stumble, every pause may feel frustrating, but you are still on the mountain. You are still moving upward, even if it feels slow. The only way you never reach the peak is if you turn around and walk away. Quitting ends the story. It buries potential. It guarantees defeat. But as long as you keep climbing, as long as you take one more step, you are still progressing. Success belongs not to those who never fall, but to those who never stop. Many people don't realize that progress is often invisible. You may try again and again without seeing the result you want. You may feel like you are stuck, repeating the same struggles, hitting the same walls. But under the surface, growth is happening. You are building resilience, developing discipline, and gaining wisdom. Every attempt adds a new layer to your character. Every so-called failure is equipping you with tools that will be essential when the breakthrough finally comes. The progress may be quiet, but it is real. Quitting, however, silences it completely. The decision to quit often comes from impatience. People want quick results. They want the dream without the process, the reward without the work, the victory without the scars. But greatness does not work that way. Every champion, every leader, every innovator has endured long seasons of struggle where nothing seemed to work. What separated them from the rest was not luck or talent, but the simple refusal to quit. They understood that as long as they kept moving, they were still in the game. Progress does not mean constant victory. It means constant effort. If you fall 10 times and rise 11, you are progressing. If you try 100 times and learn something from each attempt, you are progressing. Even on the days when you move slowly, even on the days when all you can do is crawl forward, you are still further than the one who stopped completely. Quitting is permanent, but persistence keeps the door of possibility open. The truth is, quitting doesn't remove the pain of failure, it replaces it with the pain of regret. You can live with scars from trying, but regret will haunt you forever. Regret whispers, "What if?" It torments you with the thought of what could have been, if only you had pushed one step further. The ache of temporary defeat is nothing compared to the lifelong burden of knowing you gave up too soon. Progress, on the other hand, gives you peace, because you know you kept going. To keep going requires courage. It means facing discouragement, facing doubt, facing criticism, and choosing to rise anyway. The world will not always cheer for you. Sometimes it will laugh, sometimes it will ignore you, sometimes it will tell you to give up. But your strength lies in refusing to let those voices define you. The moment you decide that quitting is not an option, you free yourself from the fear of failure. Everything you do becomes progress, because you know the journey continues. So remember this truth: you have not failed as long as you are still trying. You have not lost as long as you are still fighting. You are still in the race as long as you take one more step. The only real failure is to quit. Everything else, every stumble, every delay, every setback, is progress disguised as difficulty. Keep moving, keep rising, keep pressing forward. Because persistence guarantees growth, and growth will one day carry you to victory. Greatness is not about living without failure, it is about what you do after it. Every attempt, every fall, every defeat is not the end of your story. It is part of the foundation of it. Failure does not disqualify you. It refines you. It sharpens your vision, deepens your resilience, and prepares you for the victory that only persistence can earn. To fail better is to rise wiser. To try again is to prove that your courage is stronger than your fear. To keep moving is to declare that quitting is not an option. And when you live with that mindset, you transform setbacks into stepping stones, wounds into wisdom, and obstacles into opportunities. Remember this: the only real failure is to quit. As long as you keep standing back up, as long as you keep trying again, as long as you choose progress over surrender, you are already winning. The world does not remember those who never fell. It remembers those who rose every time they did. So don't fear failure. Use it. Let it build you. Let it guide you. Let it carry you toward your highest self. Because one day, when you finally reach that moment of breakthrough, you will look back and realize that every failure was not wasted. It was the very foundation of your greatness. That is the message: ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. And when you do, you will rise into a life that no setback can ever take away.